In hip-hop, one of the great fumbles that puzzles audiences is the grim fate of Slaughterhouse, an all-star team of writers that had made their name as the premier, battle-ready MCs in the game. The concept of Royce the 5'9", Joe Budden, Crooked I, and Joel Ortiz all banding together to deliver a project was the stuff of the avid hip-hop fans' dreams. Sparked by each member appearing on a track that birthed the group's eventual moniker, from Joe Budden's 2008 album Halfway House, the news that they were persevering with this experiment whipped lovers of hip-hop into a frenzy. By August of the following year, they'd consolidated their efforts into making a full album that was released through E1. As alluded to in the opening lines of the jubilant sound-off, the group fell into a rhythm and saw themselves as one entity that brought the best out of each individual component.
We fell into this little zone where it was like, I would lay it and give it to Crook, and he would take it, lay it, and then Joel would come right behind him, lay it, and then Joe would just end up last. And that's kind of turned into our formula. You know, we weren't aiming for anything, we were just having fun with it. You know, so we ended up doing like festival Rock the Bells and all of that so soon, and stuff started happening.
From there, things would snowball, leading each artist down a winding and convoluted path that eventually reached its conclusion in April 2018, when King Crooked took to Instagram and rescinded his membership of the group. "I'm no longer a part of Slaughterhouse," the Long Beach, California MC declares in an Instagram video. "I'm no longer a part of that collective. It ain't no beef, it's all love. I wish them dudes nothing but success." In light of Crook's abrupt exit, Royce formally drew the curtain on the project on Twitter. "Done deal. Let's all move on. It was fun," stated the Detroit MC, with fans forced to read between the lines of what had led to their untimely demise. Through it all, there was an unescapable sense that there was unfinished business to be settled. Even when they stalled after 2014's House Rules mixtape, it seemed implausible that there was no way back for four MCs that had such raw talent. But a few years removed from the height of their career, all indications suggest that they were set up for a fall from the beginning. When Slaughterhouse inked a deal with Shady Records in 2011, it seemed like a natural fit. Rather than some random record label swooping in and capitalizing on their name value, they'd opted to work under the watchful eye of Eminem and his manager Paul Rosenberg, two men that knew how far sheer lyrical ability could carry you in the rap game. But as history has taught us, Shady's track record as a label boss is checkered at best and falls way below his status as a top-tier artist. And in fact, barring the boundary-smashing success of 50, to a lesser extent D12 and Obi Trice, he's notched up more losses than he has victories in that department. With previous signings such as Cassius, Stat Quo, and Bobby Creekwater all failing to live up to the potential that they'd exhibited before inking their name on the dotted line, it seemed as though M really had something to prove when he announced their next phase in 2011. Formed of Slaughterhouse and fellow acquisition Yelawolf, a press release from the iconic CEO declared that "It's the new generation of Shady Records, and we're trying to rebuild our label. It's exciting for hip-hop, and with all these forces coming together, and with what everybody's capable of on the mic, it's gonna be fun." But fast forward to November 2014, just 5 months after Slaughterhouse released their final project with the House Rules mixtape, it was clear Eminem had already begun to abandon hope on what could have been a seminal group. Reflecting on where the wheels came off of his artist to Detroit News, M claimed that, "I internalize it. I try to figure out why. Because when somebody comes to our label that we're excited about, you try to figure out, if I'm excited about it, why is it not connecting with over in this audience? You try to figure out why, and you're left scratching your head." Considering Slaughterhouse's debut album achieved middling sales of just 18,000 in the first week, the more cynical among us could have suggested that the writing was on the wall all along. That said, the distribution afforded to them by Shady Records saw these numbers rise exponentially when it came time to drop 2012's sophomore project, Welcome to Our House. Clocking in at 52,000 in its first week and grabbing the number 2 spot on the overall Billboard album chart, it appeared that, from a numerical standpoint at least, things were on the up for the four wordsmiths. The highest chart position that anyone in the group other than Royce had ever achieved, it seemed as though after years of toil on the underground, these MCs were finally going to reap the rewards. So, where did it go wrong? Well, that answer varies depending on who you ask, but with some common threads that are felt by almost all of them. When Joel Ortiz gave his dissection on Sway in the Morning, the answer was twofold. leaning towards both missed opportunities on their part and a general mishandling of what they had right in front of them as personal interests seeped in.
If I had to keep it 1,000 with y'all right now, management. And I'm gonna be that guy that takes it from that perspective.
Okay, Brent, how did management?
A lot of representation, a lot of ideas, a lot of chefs in the pot, a lot of my guy is the guy after this. You know, a lot of my guy is the guy during this. You know, hey, what we getting for a show? I think he might be entitled to a bit more. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I like this guy's ideas, but damn, he hit 2 home runs with his last idea. Let me on this idea just because.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
The business. Because let's be honest, right? Before I said that, the music was good. So, right? The music was good, right? We rap well?
Yep. You're best in the game.
Okay, so if it has nothing to do with music, then it has to do with business.
In terms of the actual process of formulating music for the project, Joel believed there was conflicting ideas about the vision for what Slaughterhouse should represent, leading to the debate whether they'd remain in their pre-established lane that they had honed their craft in, or aim to transition into uncharted territory in order to emulate their boss's lauded career.
I don't think we have the capability of being whack, us four, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, we have bars. Like, even on one of your non-favorite verses, you're still talent in there.
Still talent in it, yeah.
So we had ourselves, like, in a situation where it's just like, okay, what we gonna do? What music are we gonna rhyme over now? Everybody knows that we're on the Shady platform. Do we attempt to make records that are stadium and put your lighters up?
Like I'm Not Afraid, that sort of stuff that them does?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Or do we stay here and, I mean, bar everybody to death on this platform? Management made a couple of those calls, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they were right, because I look back now and I'm just like, damn, Welcome to Our House could have been insane.
Disheartened by the guidance that only hindsight provides, this niggling feeling that they strayed off the path that they knew themselves to be the most impactful is one that's shared by Royce da 5'9". Although he was no stranger to success before or since, with projects such as Prime and the acclaimed Book of Ryan, the renowned MC believes they second-guessed their way out of a definitive album.
It had been a long time since any of us had been on major labels. So when we went in and we did all of the first music, everything was just a vibe. It was just a feel. We started looking at the criticism. Will they be able to make songs for the radio? Will they be able to live up to the hype of being signed to Shady and making songs that can be commercially viable? I think the songs that he decided to pick for the album were just too many of the more commercial sounding songs. And that's just him kind of doing it, I think, how he probably would have done one of his own albums, because when he works on something, he gives it his all. He puts the work into it like it's his own project. So we just kind of sat back and we just trusted his judgment on that.
On the other hand, the crew's sole West Coast representative places the blame in a more overt fashion, and it's all heading in one direction. Firmly of the belief that Joe Budden was the impulsive force that spelled the end, King Crooked seemed to have taken their conclusion and Slaughterhouse's perceived disloyalty the hardest. Speaking on an episode of Drink Champs, the Compton rapper, who claims to have 3 Slaughterhouse tattoos etched into his skin, saw Joe's negative comments about Eminem's Revival album and his brazen claims of being a better rapper than you this whole decade as a bridge too far. I feel like Joe forgot about the helping hand when he was saying what he was saying. I do not forget solid shit. That is just not how I'm cut. I never forget solid shit. So I would think as long as Eminem and Paul did not cross him in any type of way, I would think Joe Budden would have enough respect to be like, yo, I'm not gonna step on the gas on this one. Never one to shy away from a debate, Joe Budden refuted the popular notion that his podcast is the source of all contention between its factions back in May of 2018. Instead, he suggested that there was a fundamental disconnect between himself and the rest of the group's outlook on how to proceed. The Slaughterhouse issues predate my media career, and everything I'm saying in media, I've said as an active rapper. I was saying what I was saying in music and to the group members. I just don't think I was being received properly. I think every time we got on the phone to try and find a way to make it work, every time they talk about music, I'd speak about music. I already knew what we could do musically. We don't need to talk about that. going on to define business as anything that makes money before adding that Slaughterhouse hasn't made any. It's evident that Joe saw their willingness to ride things out as negligent and damaging to both the brand they've built and their individual stock. But what's more, during a special edition of Pull Up with Crook, he inferred that he and his Slaughterhouse brothers were the subject of a long con. "I think somebody somewhere made a lot of money," Joe speculated. "I don't think it was you, and I don't think it was me, nor do I think it was Royce, nor do I think it was Joel." That's thought A. Thought B is, nobody made money, and the geniuses that I think M and Paul are really mismanaged our brand. For Crooked, one persistent scab that he won't allow to heal is the fate of their third album. Entitled Glass Houses, the project has been left to wither on the shelf since they began work in 2013, and was in such an advanced stage that they were actively discussing their artistic direction in promotional interviews. Deemed to be their most personal yet, during a video with Vibe, one look at the body language exhibited by all four men will let you know that all was not well in the Slaughterhouse camp. They said all the right things, but the mood is somber and tense, with each member looking thoroughly disinterested by what everyone else had to say. But for Crooked Eye, the album's release is a matter of closure, and as detailed to Talib Kweli's People's Party show, the project met its end when other members couldn't place other things on the back burner and focus on the record.
One member, "I don't have no time to do it this summer. Let's talk in November." Then November come around and it's like, you know what? I can't do it now. This other, you know what I mean? And it started being like, okay, this ain't gonna happen.
And while Crook didn't name any names, M gave his perspective to Sway on why the project never hit shelves during the infamous Kamikaze interview series, singling out none other than Joey Jumpoff as the instigator. There was definitely enough to put an album out, but for the most part, it wasn't a complete picture because they weren't on the same page about what their favorite songs were. What I was told, I didn't hear this firsthand, was that Joe said, "Slaughterhouse ain't hot right now. We gotta put out a mixtape." Then everybody started doing their own shit. In conclusion, conflicting agendas and busy schedules spelled the end of Slaughterhouse. And last year, Royce acknowledged the expiration date that lingers over supergroups, citing the projects such as the Four Horsemen, as well as Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule's attempt to also form a supergroup.
Anytime guys try to form like that, they never gave it 2 albums. Right. We did 2 albums and 2 mixtapes. We did a lot, and I think I'm happy with what we did with it.
This has been a HipHopMadness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HipHopMadness and join the movement.